You're running a shop floor, not a Pinterest interest board or a fantasy football league. You don't need inspiration, you need things to work. So welcome to Build Your Way, a podcast from Cetec ERP. This is a show for manufacturers who are in it every day, from quoting and shipping jobs to troubleshooting quality and material shortages, all while staying a step ahead of what's next. We bring you stories from the field, lessons that stick, and strategies that actually scale to help you build better. Let's get to work.
Welcome back to the Build Your Way podcast here at Cetec ERP. I am Taylor Wagon.
And I'm Scott Ryan. And this time, we have the Godfather, Brent Barton, employee, associate,
CEO,
co-founder.
Happy to be here.
All the titles. You love titles, don't you?
Many hats.
Subtitles.
In a couple notes on today's episode. First off, I'm wearing running gear because I forgot that we were recording this today. Second of all, the book of the day is a very special book which I pulled from my father-in-law's library. And it is in honor of having a Brent Barton CEO join us. It is the disaster book.
The Great International
Disaster Book. And this is just what I felt like might set the tone for us reminiscing across our history over the last 20-some years of small business land.
I like to say there's never been a disaster.
It's been teetering. It's teetered a number of times.
What was the disaster this week?
Man, I feel like the disasters we face now are smaller than the disasters we faced previously.
They're learning opportunities.
Yeah. Is there anything specific about that book?
No, believe it or not, I've never read this book. My father-in-law had this on his shelf at some point, and I chuckled. And so, yeah, if you want to read about pestilence across time, they're in here. If you want to read about tornadoes or earthquakes, cyclones, explosions and collapses.
So interesting is that I've heard Brent can move his body like a cyclone.
No comment. But yeah, you could read about the great Boston molasses flood of 1919.
Oh,
it's all in here, ladies and gentlemen.
That was a very slow developing disaster.
I don't know what time of year it was. I think it was in the summer. So the disaster book.
It's more viscosity and hotter weather. Excellent. Well, Brent, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Happy to be here.
I really want to start with your history with Cetec pre-Taylor Wagon. Like,
we did precede. You are the oldest.
Yeah. The longest tenured.
Not counting Arlene case.
Not counting Arlene. She's, yeah. When did you start at Cetec?
Well, it was back in 97.
1997. How old were you?
I would be like 17 in high school.
Okay. What did you do? And this was when Fred was. So how old were you? And then give me the context.
Yeah. So I started with taking vendor price catalog CSV files and importing them into the system. That was like everything I did. So.
How many hours did it take to load a vendor price file into the system?
Quite a little bit, especially when you didn't know what you were doing. I got a little quicker. There was just the classic problem there is like it's problems we still face today, but it's like every vendor is going to send it in different formats, right? So then there's like some idea of either creating a program for each format or trying to scrub the data in a way that you could do it. So
is this like a summer job or?
It started as that, yeah. Yeah, it started as that, and then I don't know. Interest grew and stuck around, so.
Yeah. You mentioned to me at one point, we were talking about like career paths and like I had at one point was like, maybe I'll learn how to code, which I was like, that's a bad idea. I don't like, that doesn't really actually interest me beyond like some of the logic and problem solving. But you mentioned that you were like, well, I was doing this from a young, like I was building computers as
There has to be an interest. I think we found that even over the years, like as we've hired people, like there's kind of like there's been flashes of like the idea of like, oh, you can make some easy money, or it's easy to be a programmer, and so like you get these kind of guys that or ladies that have shown up and be like, oh, I definitely want to be a programmer, and it's like you don't actually enjoy this. You're not going to be as good as someone that's like done it for fun from an early age.
Yeah, I'd signed up for Coursera and was I got halfway through an HTML class and I was like,
You got the H and the T or what?
yeah.
You know, not to like put you in the line or in the light here, but I've seen you FTP files.
I have FTP'd some files in my day.
Yeah.
I vibe code now. I built some nice dashboards on Metabase with in SQL.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. So you're 17.
Yep.
You're importing vendor pricing. What's the state of Cetec? We know it's in Texas. I mean, like the situation.
It would be like what I would refer to as it was the legacy product, right?
Yeah.
Today of what you would know Cetec have, obviously didn't exist. So we're talking, serial wise terminals, no mouse, that sort of thing.
So for you longtime listeners, zero-time callers, if you remember Kelly Bell, this was the overlap with Brent.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, her father owned an electronic distribution company.
And that was your connection somehow, right?
Yeah, Kelly's younger sister is my age, so we went to high school together.
Cool.
Like, yeah, I can do a job. That sounds great.
Were you guys in choir together?
I don't think so. You'd have to be in choir to be in choir together.
Wait,
At least one
she was not.
both of us were
She was not.
together.
Yeah, I was like, I think I know.
Yeah, so it really was just like, hey, got a friend, opportunity for a job, make some money, vaguely interested in it. Didn't even really know how I'd be doing or what I'd be doing, but
So at what point did it become like a thing for you?
I would say probably as we went beyond that task and I started learning more about actual web-based development, and then it became
Were you doing web development or business basic development?
both.
You did both.
Yeah,
Okay. Which one did you learn first?
basic.
Basic.
that was
They had you doing business basic.
That was the pricing import stuff. That was the initial, yeah.
But that didn't scratch the itch until you really got into.
Once we started getting into like, okay, yeah, you could write something and like load it in your web browser. Like that was a little bit more satisfying.
That does feel powerful.
Yeah.
And then that came with like a different programming language that was, back in the day was very modern.
It was cool. It was a cool thing. It was, you're
database.
running Linux, you're dealing with a database, you're dealing with, the whole LAMP stack world. And
When did you start doing? I mean, like you're just loading files and like doing stuff. Kind of. When did you start doing customer facing things?
So what the original like business problem that we looked to solve was warehouse issues. So imagine you're a distributor. Typically you're going to buy in volume, so you get better per unit pricing, and then
That's how you make money.
yes, volume.
buy low.
Sell.
So what was happening at the company was they were buying like 1,000 of these things, small electronic parts, and the operators weren't necessarily having the good information in front of them, so they just basically take the whole 1,000 and would box it up and send it right back out to the customer, even though the customer had only ordered, let's say, 500.
Wait, this was what I thought the original problem was a quoting problem.
No, that came second.
Interesting. So it was actually truly fulfillment. So
They were like hemorrhaging money when those mistakes would happen, and they were happening very frequent.
hemorrhaging means bleeding.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I forgot my Latin and my PE health class.
It's been a while.
So yeah, anyhow, like it was like that was the actual issue. That was like, there was direct money.
So what did that look like? You guys wrote a web interface for picking?
Not picking. It had to do with the receiving and logic around that to try to give them presenting information to the user to say, look, this package needs to be broke down, because the problem is that they would also buy lots of things that were the exact quantity that. Okay. So there was confusing, right? So we created like a whole process around bin.
You take it out of one box and put it in another box and ship it.
Basically, yeah. It's a good job for someone like you.
Yeah.
But we created like a whole process too, like around the pick. It was the whole put away and picking process, like in a little warehouse management system, effectively, like a mini WMS.
I remember seeing that.
Color coded bins, there was like colors and things.
There was a physical process associated with the whole thing.
Correct.
So is this like, are you going on site with customers, or are you just hanging out at M3 trying to solve this?
Wasn't M3, it was we can say Wofford, because they don't exist anymore.
Wofford Electronics was the company name.
Like they were on site all the time.
Yeah, we were there.
So I talk about it really, like you knew the process very deeply, you knew the users very deeply, you'd roll a change out, you'd go watch and see how it played, and then you'd iterate and iterate.
That's actually a really good point, because like that perspective is lost, so it's probably worth taking a moment to describe that, because like here we're kind of like effectively removed from the customer, right? We're in our lab, if you will. This was like both. It was like on site literally every day. Like I could just go ask the user or observe like what's going on.
And conversely, if the user didn't like something, they would literally walk to your desk and tell you to change it because it sucked.
So there was a really rapid cycle of feedback, which helped fine-tune this in a way that was much, much more effective as a result.
And that set us up with that feel of like, you have to be talking to users, you have to know what they're doing, you have to like look and think about their world and develop for them. And that's, I think we try to make that a culture piece, but it's interesting. It becomes more and more difficult as we get larger to give that to developers.
Definitely even at that point was like, it was eye-opening to know, okay, like, oh, well, here's a technical problem, here's a technical solution, and then now you're getting feedback from users in ways that you would not have anticipated them using it, or just they're seeing it from a perspective that you haven't even considered. So
how do you feel about the idea that it was like a perverse advantage to be, what were you, 18, 17, showing up and learning both to code and to like do process consulting, starting with almost nothing except what the users are telling you. Yeah. Like there's another version where, you go and you have an MBA and you have like, I showed up in kind of the same world, right? With almost no background. And that was like, where we all kind of cut our teeth in that world of like, you write something, you're going to get yelled at if it like doesn't work, and you're going to be like, you're probably not going to hear anything at all if it worked really well.
Exactly.
Except maybe on the way to the car, I'll be like, hey, it worked. That was great.
Yeah.
And that's about it. But you're very much in the thick of it.
For sure. And there's good and bad of that, right? Like
it definitely informed who we are.
You get a lot more information, but you're also kind of vulnerable from like getting yelled at or dealing with like, and this is kind of like, going into what you were just saying, like the next thing was starting to get into the sales side of things, which
they will definitely yell.
I got called many names often.
One thing that I think is interesting there that we've talked about, the new, like, one of the problems that we deal with now is taking a specific use case and abstracting it high enough that it's applicable across, or even within a business, taking a specific problem, but then understanding the downstream impact of that.
Yeah.
And like, how much of that was like, you're just dealing with a specific pain point because this is such a hyper custom thing, versus like, I have to think about all of the kind of processes around.
Going back to when you started dealing with sales users, was it you that had the nickname of what we will politely rephrase as poopy head?
That may have been one of the names I was mentioning that I was called. But it was a term of endearment.
It was super endearing to be called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's way more PG than I expected.
Yeah.
Why?
That's what happens when you put a developer next to the users and they're just like, well, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been called.
One of the reasons why also might be the fact that there was like this little note card I had to give this particular salesperson of these special characters that you could not use and input into the system because it would break everything. So there were some arbitrary rules that had to be followed. And then when things broke, sometimes then you would go over there and it's like, oh, you used a tick in your comment. Like, I told you can't do that.
And so you gave it Lyme disease.
Basically. Yeah, good thing we don't have to worry about that anymore these days.
That's not
Entirely true.
at least. Yeah, I know that
Most of
we've moved.
Yeah.
It's moved.
The needle has moved.
Yes. Yeah. Continues to get better. Okay. So clearly you showed up around this point in time.
So you already started in 97, right? And I met you for the first time in 1999. What was that, January or February? February, right?
What was your first impression of Taylor?
You don't have to answer this question.
I don't really know that there was one. Yeah, I was like, just basically got out of the way for an interview. It was like a non-event for me.
You were flying back from EDS, which was a trade show in Las Vegas. That was the thing at the time for electronics distribution. And you and the then owner were coming through, and he told me to meet him at the airport for this interview because he was stopping through Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I was living. And then he like told you to take a long walk or whatever in the airport so we could do an interview. And so then we did an interview. And
Sorry, that's not. I didn't actually mean the very first time. I meant like the first time you actually were able to have an impression of Taylor. What was the first impression?
Well, we didn't work together for a while.
Yeah, when he shows up in Tomball for training, kind of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he worked for the company a while before that moment.
correct.
I mean, let's just say, like, being someone that grew up in Tomball and then seeing Taylor arrive in Tomball, it was very clear that he was not from Tomball.
It's awesome. Fish out of water.
You're not from around here, are you?
It was very clear. This, running, jogging, stroller situation, and there were some things that
I had my wife and 1-year-old, and we had a running stroller because you take your kid running so that you don't leave your spouse stuck with a child after your work and you're going to go on a run. And we were in the local grocery store pushing our 1-year-old in this stroller in Klein's.
yeah.
And in the produce department, which had a whole lot of iceberg lettuce and not a whole lot else, somebody stopped and asked if what we had was some kind of racing stroller.
Probably never seen one of those.
To which we, of course, said, absolutely.
As you should at that point.
So there's some untold amount of time between that and Cetec is sort of doing its.
Your point there that we didn't work together for a while was very true because you were off.
I was in school.
You were in school, and I was like full time running around doing stuff, and we didn't work together much until like years later.
Yeah, because you weren't in Tomball that long before you went to Austin, right? So that was well ahead of when I showed up in Austin.
Yeah. And you were one of the people that I worked the least with for many, many years.
Wait, when did that change? Was that after Brent took over?
We started working some together before that. Yeah. But we mostly worked on different things too. So even we might be in the same room working on things, we were never working on a project together for a while. Yeah. Until Bell Micro, I guess, would be the first time. That would have been
post.
Yeah, that would have been like once we were offices over on Southwest Parkway.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Lantana or whatever that was.
2004, 5.
Maybe, yeah, somewhere around there.
And then that all shifted when you ended up taking over the company.
Yeah.
When was that? And well, like, why? Like, what was
Great
question. What was
I ask
like?
myself that all the time.
Like, how did it come?
Thanks.
How did it come about? What was compelling about it? I think obviously I know some of the like.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, so fast forward a little bit more longer, and then it's like, well, I started doing more customer relationship stuff with Bell, and Bell being kind of like our now very much primary customer. I mean, I don't know,
80, 90% of revenue.
5% of the revenue of the company, which obviously could be a concern.
Suboptimal.
Yeah. But so I had a lot of the customer relationship pieces of that as my responsibility at that point. And then I think the previous owner was like, dealing with some maybe personal issues and looking maybe just kind of burned out. And that's when he started talking about maybe an exit. So it was really easy for me to kind of take over since I was already doing the operational sides of things, and to the point where like it wasn't even immediately known to our customers that had happened, just because there was no real need to tell them at that time. But yeah, I mean, the why though is like, man, I was young. I have goals. I wanted to be successful, support my family. I had a lot of hustle, a lot of energy. And I was like, man, let's do this,
How many employees were at Cetec at that point?
Well, that's a good question. As part of that, at that inflection point, we got rid of some employees, and basically our customer hired some of them. So we kind of pulled the team into its I guess very small state. So that helped with some of the cash flow and just the making things more simple, if that makes sense. Yeah.
My memory on a couple of those points was that the customer was absolutely aware when you ended up taking over, because the prior owner forced them to put a number of people on their payroll. Mm-hmm. And there was a person there who I quite like, who was absolutely furious about it. Yeah. And I heard about it. Gotcha. And they were livid is maybe too small of a word about that.
If that's that person, that's a big, strong personality.
It was a big explosion, and he was not happy, and he had no choice, and he was forced into it, and
which is partly why he wasn't happy, I assume.
That's a big part of it. That's a big part of it. He was very, very angry. So the fact that there was any continuity was great. Also testament to both good customer care and the fact that they had no options. They were very angry, not at you. They were extremely angry at the prior owner for that exit, and how that went down, which was interesting. But that carried forward, so it worked out.
I mean, I think that there was just 3, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to think of the actual number. Okay. Yeah. And we were probably, 10 or 11 before that.
Under average size company. Yeah. And we got even smaller.
Yeah.
And then, that was that.
Yeah. 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 So now let's see, that was a lot of energy ready to go at it, own a company, let's do this, And, about a year later, Bell got bought.
85% of your revenue goes.
They switched off of us over the next 10 months. There was effectively, not no revenue, but let's say a trickle.
Yeah. It's that scene in Tommy Boy where he's got his little, his lead.
Yes.
Yeah. And all services based. And so.
All services based. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So there's no,
Yeah, it's all time and material stuff. So, there was had some reflection moments there about,
it's gone.
Buy a car and you're excited about it, and then you realize you bought a lemon. And it's not
a lemon that somebody lit on fire, and your insurance starts tomorrow.
Yeah, that's about what it felt like for a while there afterwards.
So how did you and I know that this is something that you want to talk about, but you basically go from buying a company to somehow over this next period of time shifting into startup mode.
Yeah, there were a few steps in between.
It was denial.
Exactly.
Anger.
Yeah. Reassurance to my family that, don't worry, I got this. Dad's got this.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but it's gonna be fine.
How did you bridge kind of that period, and how did you go from Microbell drops out to now, like, I mean, Taylor's kind of floating around, kind of trying to find another, like, but he's also trying to find another way to do things. Yeah. Like, you know, he's not planning to stick around.
Yeah, I mean, there was no cash flow, so it's hard to run a business when you don't have cash flow, I think, as probably most business owners would agree.
I mean, I was prior to that transfer when you ended up taking over, is I had told the prior owner that I was moving to central Mexico to do medical missions before that imploded and fell apart.
Then you got stuck with a failing company.
And then, sticking around, then you and I start looking at each other going like, I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do. And so we trickled that through for a little bit. And then at some point, I think we had a conversation. I remember it was like, man, I think I'm going to have to go out and get some work.
Yeah. I need money for my family, basically.
I'm going to have to pay some bills. Yeah. And I know you were in about the same position I was in there. Yeah.
End of the rope. I think.
What year is this? 2008, 2009? Did we make it into 2009?
I think it was the end of 2009, mid or end of 2009, I thought. But I could be a little bit off there. So the first big step out of that hole was getting an existing customer to basically hire the company as the chief technology officer of their company.
They had a situation where they had a customer who was an extraordinarily large amount of their revenue.
Correct.
And they had enough quality issues, many of which specifically were around labeling. See a prior episode about how getting a couple lot codes wrong on a label will destroy you in certain industries.
Which obviously is frustrating when you're building product that's fine and you're just bad labeling.
And so part of their way of saying, we take this seriously, we are taking steps, we are going to make some process changes, was they had a call with you and said, hey, we need you to basically save this, and we need to bring in resources and show that we are taking steps.
Right.
What can you do? Yep. And so then I remember you gave me a call, and I was on my back porch, like walking around because I'm an incessant pacer on the phone. I remember I took that call, walked around back and forth on my porch.
I was in the parking lot at the customer site talking to you.
Like it's seared into our brains.
It was a rather large moment in relatively speaking at the time.
Yeah. I mean, big to us. Yeah. And so then that started off this period where we got enough work to exist, which was terrific, since we're both dads, both with families, both trying to pay bills, not build an empire. Right. And it also meant that we had an extraordinary amount of travel in front of us.
Yeah.
So we spent the next 8 months, where I'd fly out Sunday and fly back on that Friday night flight that sometimes would make it back at 12:30 and sometimes would make it back at 3:30, and sometimes I'd be driving home from Houston at 2 a.m. on a flight that got canceled. Yeah. And then you'd leave Sunday and do the exact same thing, sometimes making it back at Friday.
That was back when Alaska.
There was an Alaska, there was an American, and they shifted around. It was tough.
We basically just passed each other in the airport and
slap hands.
Yeah, that's basically it.
And one of us was there all the time.
Yep.
And sometimes both of us were there.
Sometimes both. Yeah.
And we wrote a lot of code, and we were in that boiler room where you are directly with the users, writing code. They are looking at, iterating as rapidly as possible.
So it was largely effective as again same common denominator as before we discussed. We were able to give deliverables very quickly, and that's exactly what our customer needed in this case to prove to their customer. So it was by all marks, everyone was happy and it was successful.
It worked. It did work.
It worked.
Yeah.
So that was the thumbs up moment after lots of travel and lots of work, effectively.
I mean, you wrote a lot of code.
Yes.
As I know, was the starting point for the version, the current Cetec. But at what point did you figure out that, we should be doing this? You're in survival mode, but how much are you looking ahead to because you're doing all this, and like this is all web based at this point, right? You're writing all of the OT. So if you're a Cetec customer, so much of the like anything if you're looking at the URL and you're a little nerdy and you see OTD, like most of that was written in this time period, or at least started in this time period. So anytime you see an update that's like, hey, we're redoing the part request because turns out this is really old code and was
written at 2 a.m. Part request is
should be questioned.
Yeah. Well, it's just an example of like it's like, oh, we're carrying some technical debt with this feature.
Absolutely.
It's 15 years old, 16 years old. Yeah. Time to get glowed up.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway.
It was a lot. And that did set the scene. I mean, I know we were talking at the time about how this would abstract. One of the things I think we maintained as a discipline pretty aggressively was we are writing code within a specific environment, but we have worked in enough environments. At that point, we each had, a decade of getting inside different companies and like dealing with what they do. The instinct to abstract to a common case was kind of beaten into us pretty well.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful when you can get deep inside the company.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how is she going to see how it works?
Exactly. So. You can stick your head up the.
Yeah.
Or you can take the butcher's word for it.
That's right.
So that was a lot, and it was mostly, strangely, where we had previously started a lot of attention on. In the prior version of product was called Tsunami, and that was very CRM and quoting and sales focused. This was very much production.
As operational as it gets.
it was as ops focused as it could be.
Personally, I enjoyed it a lot more, frankly.
It was a nice dive into how, like, when you take somebody's job that they're going to do 100 times a day, and you make that, if it was like 40 minutes for them to do that, and you take it down to 4 minutes, that really adds up to a lot of ROI.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to that end, I was called a lot nicer names on that project.
It's true.
So I think that was another indicator.
I remember you were called Brent Time.
Brent Time, yeah.
Brent Time.
That was they called you Break Time, but they couldn't say the word break, and they thought it sounded like Brent, and so they called you Brent Time.
That's right. Yeah, and to this day, my kids call me that because they think it's funny. So it sticks.
Thanks for listening. So far, this is part one of our in-depth interview with CEO Brent Barton here at Cetec ERP. This is the Build Your Way podcast. Thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for listening to us. If you have anything you want us to talk about or address, send us an email, podcast@ctecherp.com, podcast@ctecherp.com. And until then, continue to build your way. Thanks for listening.